question could well be looming. I mean, for many years it was the refrain of politicians that we didn't have to choose between the US and China. That essentially has happened. Jenny, the next question is, how much does Taiwan matter to Australia?
Well, we are, as others have observed, in a challenging period in our region. Things are changing and we need to be really clear about our own interests. Our overwhelming interest in our region is establishing an order that is peaceful and that respects sovereignty. And those are core values for Australia. That will be front of our mind as we're thinking about all of the many questions that confront us right now and in the coming years. I think you've seen our representatives, Senator Wong, Mr Miles, speak in very clear ways about our concern that people in the region, countries in the region, do everything they can to support a peaceful arrangements.
It seems really noteworthy that we used to talk about another, call it what you will, the area of China, Hong Kong in these ways, Jane. That used to be the sort of poster child for one country, two systems. Doesn't that now show what's happened in Hong Kong, that any talk of that China has of one country, two systems for Taiwan is pretty farcical?
Well, I think you're going to find Jenny and I on a unity ticket on this one. Australia has been very consistent for a long period of time about its support for the one China policy. Whether China interprets that the same way Australia does is another issue, or and Australia and the rest of the world, I should say. I think I, like Jenny, like many other Australians, found the Chinese ambassador's comments at the National Press Club quite concerning. Some of the language that he used there was inflammatory, to say the least. I think the most important thing is that there is an opportunity for dialogue between our two nations. I know that before the election there was some comments about a change in government would allow for a reset of relations. I think that now probably the Labor government have seen that those relations with China are tense and quite difficult to manage and to navigate. It's important that we do so in a respectful way, but also making sure that we're very clear about what Australia's national interests are. I have been quite pleased with the direction that the Labor government have taken in this regard. I think that the announcement of Richard Marles has made to have another look at our defence capability is a good one. We do need to adjust to the changing situations that we find ourselves, the geostrategic relationships that we have in our region. My only concern with that would potentially be with the choice of Stephen Smith. Under Stephen Smith, we saw a reduction in the capacity of our Defence Force, in fact, a $5.5 billion cut to defence spending. We certainly wouldn't want to see that now, and I think that there should be a commitment from the new Labor government to make sure that that doesn't continue.
Smith, that wasn't him driving down the budget. Let's just be clear on this. That was Labor scrambling around, desperate to try to get a surplus, and any reasonable cut was considered, and a very different geostrategic
and that actually speaks
environment at the time.
And that speaks to priorities. That speaks to priorities. We want to make sure that those are not the same priorities now, and that in fact it was a coalition government, you'll recall, Tom, that increased defence spending to not just 2% of GDP but beyond 2% of GDP. That was an Abbott government commitment and one that we have fulfilled. We would like to see, and I think we are seeing from the Labor government now, which is a good thing, a continuation of that strategic imperative and that policy.